What's going on, you guys? I'm, as always, Mr. Grimreaper with Dark Knight 987, and welcome everybody to the Red Alert Podcast. And today's kind of a little different than what we usually would talk about. We would talk about, mostly, what's going on in the news and stuff like that, and, as far as entertainment goes. And, by the way, I'm wearing my new shirt that I got today at JCPenney. My Back to the Future t-shirt, which is one of my favorite movies. And I kind of want to get into that a little bit, nostalgia. I kind of wanted to talk about, what our favorite movies were as kids, what our favorite cartoons were as kids, like what we grew up with as kids. And one of the things that I remember as a kid was watching. I didn't like it as a kid. I didn't like it as a kid because it was a girl cartoon. But I kind of grew on it as much as I saw it. For as much as I saw it, it kind of grew on me a little bit, and I'm talking about Sailor Moon. Do you remember that cartoon?
I know of that one.
What do you remember about Sailor Moon?
Well, yeah, and I can agree with you about the fact that it was, it was really for girls, but, I mean, I'm not that I say I didn't, that I liked it, but whenever it just come on, I only watched like a very little of it. And yeah, how it was. That was like one of the, I guess back when my first glimpse of what anime was, I guess. But I have anime, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
As far as everything else goes, man, I kind of got into it a little bit when I was a kid.
Yeah.
There was something else that I got into too when I was a kid. Most of you probably have seen Nostalgia Critics review for a little segment on Cartoon Network called Toonami. Now, for those of you who do not know what Toonami is, I wish that my friend RJ was here to tell you what Toonami was. Toonami was basically a block on Cartoon Network back in the old days that had a lot to do with anime. And I remember watching, and I remember one of my favorite cartoons. There was there was a lot of good stuff. But I remember Dragon Ball Z. I remember all these other anime cartoons and stuff like that from back in the day. And not to mention, I had no idea that this was a part of it. Powerpuff Girls was a part of it. I had no idea. Fucking Johnny Quest was a part of it. Had no idea. But what do you remember about Toonami, man?
Yeah, basically, I mean, yeah, same thing. Basically, I mean, yeah, like you said, it was a block that came on, and it showed different, of course, the anime is my partner, as you said, but yeah, I had and me too, I had no idea about the Powerpuff Girls being a part of that, and Johnny Quest, and that's another cartoon I remember was Johnny Quest. That was like one of the ones that I watched a lot as well. But yeah, Tsunami, man, that takes me so back to when I was a kid. Every time, wherever I would go, if I would go to a relative's house, out of town, they had cable, definitely, I sit there and watch Cartoon Network, whatever came on, it was that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tsunami takes me way back, man.
Yeah, there's a couple of other stuff. Besides Cartoon Network, there was some other stuff that me and Dark Knight, that me and Knight would watch as kids. I remember Bobby's World. I
Yep.
remember God Doug. I remember one of the shows that I hated as a kid. Oh, I did not like this show one fucking bit because it was because of the clown, the fucking clown. Oh my god, Are You Afraid of the Dark? I
Yeah.
hated
Oh my
that.
gosh.
If
Yeah, it
you
scared me
guys,
too.
yeah, if you guys remember Are You Afraid of the Dark, there was always a fucking part where the clown came up in the intro. I hated that shit as a kid.
Yeah.
And it used to
That was.
scare the piss out of me as a kid. Not to
I know.
mention, oh my god, not to mention how I remember watching the episodes for Are You Afraid of the Dark back when I
Oh.
was a kid.
Oh yeah.
The monster of the week scared the piss. That show used to scare the piss out of me as a kid. What do you remember about Are You Afraid of the Dark, man?
Back aside from it was scary. Yes, I share that in the same boat with Grim there. That it was scary. It scared the hell out of me in the beginning, but I grew to like it. I became a fan of Are You Afraid of the Dark, I remember we used to come on Saturday night on an old segment. We'll get to here soon, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Called
we'll get
Snick.
to
Saturday
it.
night. Saturday night Nickelodeon. They call it Snick. And anyway, so but yeah, I remember how scary it used to be, but it was a good show. Above all, I loved it as a kid. But yeah, I mean, it does tend to scare the crap out of you, you know. But other than that, though, I loved it. That was one of my favorites.
Especially the monsters, the monster of the week.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember some of them used to scare the hell out of me. I remember the I remember that like it was yesterday, but it's been so long since then, since we saw those shows. But
Yeah.
there's another one I want to talk about. Yeah, let's get into Snake. Saturday night Nickelodeon. Now, this block used to come on a lot back when we were kids. I remember it
Oh,
so vividly. They had it was a bunch of kids. It was a bunch of kids sitting on that orange couch every fucking Saturday night.
it's all purple and that Snick on L. So many memories. There's so many memories about that. And they always show Saturday night, you know, they would show all that. And, dude, we can't forget that classic orange couch, man. That was one
Yeah,
of the
who could
perfect
forget
things.
about it? Matter of fact, when I was a kid, I wanted to sit on that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like that's how I remember. I remember the game shows too that used to come on. Figure It Out, Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple, which we talked about, which I sort of talked about before on this channel, and I was so
Yep.
mad when they fucking made that movie.
We'll probably talk about that movie another time, but yeah, Global Gut. It was another one of my favorites. You said Figure It Out, and it was the original Double Dare. Now, of course, you have to know they brought back Double Dare, but it's a new version and a new host. Mark Summers does co-host on that, but
Yeah, but if you
it's not as me and Grimreaper know. It used to be more slimier, and there was other game shows too that I kind of watched that I kind of didn't, watch back on and off.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. One of my favorite shows back when I was a kid, Nick Arcade. I loved that show. You
Yes,
get
definitely.
here was the premise of Nick Arcade. For those of you who have no idea what the fuck Nick Arcade was. Nick Arcade was basically these kids. The contestants used to jump into a game, and they have to get past this game and stuff like that. Whatever kind of game it was, they had to get past this type of game and stuff like that, right?
Right. That's right.
And that's basically what Nick Arcade was, and it was fucking fantastic. And I remember it like it was yesterday.
Oh, definitely, man. It was. Nick Arcade was one of the best as well. I can't take that away. And then, of course, like I said before, there was another show that, besides Double Dare, that Mark Summers was a host of back on the old school Nickelodeon as well. It was called What Would You Do? That was another one that I kind of liked, the whole pies and face. And, oh, my God, it was so fun. And, but, yeah, so there's those more game shows that him and I know of. And of course, it's not just Nickelodeon, too. Also, the old school Cartoon Network. You know, we watched a lot of shows. And one of my favorites that makes me laugh so much, talk about on the floor laughing, was Johnny Bravo. I mean, that was one of the funniest ones that, oh my God, it was so hilarious. And that was one of my favorite cartoons. To this day, it still remains one of my favorite cartoons on Cartoon Network history.
Yeah. Johnny Bravo was completely hilarious. I remember there was a lot of other stuff on Cartoon Network as well. But one of my favorites shows. Sorry guys, that's my sister and her boyfriend. But one of my favorite shows, if I remember correctly, was SWAT Cats. SWAT Cats. I love that show. Now, if you guys don't know what SWAT Cats was, basically you've been living under a rock for a long time. SWAT Cats was this action-packed show that would used to come on every Saturday morning. Oh my God, I remember, do you remember a block called Cartoon?
Yes, I remember that.
That's what it came on, whenever Cartoon was on, SWAT Cats would be on, that block. And what SWAT Cats is that these two cats, they're cats. Basically, they go around saving this city and stuff like that. It was basically an action-packed show, and man, I wish that they could have made more episodes for it. Man, it would. But yeah, I loved SWAT Cats when I was a kid.
Oh, without a doubt, that was one of the best. SWAT Cats, yeah, they're basically by day they're just simple mechanics working on cars, I guess, or whatever. They're simple mechanics, and then when they hear an alarm, they go into action. I remember, I cannot get over the opening. I look at some of the guitar solo. I love that guitar, and it's so rock and kick ass.
The intro to it's so fucking nice, and it's so fucking awesome. Oh my God, I can't for the life of me remember the last time I ever heard a badass intro as much as that. But yeah, I love SWAT Cats. SWAT Cats was so great. There was some other shows that I remember too. Bobby's World was one of them.
Yep.
On Fox Kids.
Fox Kids. There's the one I like, and I'm sure Grimreaper, if y'all don't know what this was, Life with Louie was another one that I liked.
Life with Louie, yeah.
Yeah, based on the stand-up comedy performed by Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
People, so that was one of the good cartoons there. Of course, I remember Goosebumps. I remember when Goosebumps, it was kind of like How You Play the Dark, but it was like a lot more, kind of more scary a little bit, but yeah,
it was kind of. How can I put Goosebumps in a way that y'all guys can understand it? It really wasn't that scary as much as Are You Afraid of the Dark was. Because Are You Afraid of the Dark was pretty freaking scary when I was a kid.
Exactly.
But Goosebumps was kind of goofy in a way. But it's based on the books, which are goofy anyway.
Which I happen to have a collection of. I'm a fan of Goosebumps, so I do have the books. I do like to read them every now and again, so I'm one of the guys that collects the Goosebumps series. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but do you remember, there was a couple of other shows. Mummy. Well, we had this conversation before about a few years back on
Uh-huh.
our favorite movie on our favorite shows and stuff like that.
Uh,
And this is before I did YouTube. This was during the time that I was trying to get on YouTube, that I was trying to
and
do
we start
stuff,
starting out.
that I was basically starting out. And this is that during the time before Bring Out Your Dead, I had a segment that I never really did anything with, called Jack Off TV. Now, bear in mind, it's not what you think.
No, of course not. It's not like that. Get
Um,
your mind.
it was basically Jack Off TV was basically me, Knight, and a friend of ours named RJ, which I'm pretty sure y'all guys know who he is. He's known as Captain Harlock on YouTube.
And Xbox Live.
Um, yeah, on Xbox Live, and he's also known as Harlock on YouTube as well.
Uh-huh. Right.
Um, he we've had this conversation before on what our favorite cartoons were. And I remember one of the things that he talked about, Mummies Alive. Now, Mummies Alive was a good show. And I remember Mummies Alive so fucking much as a kid. Now, I wish I could show y'all guys clips, but I can't because due to copyright. But I can't. I can't. I want to so fucking bad because I can't. I remember watching that show as a kid, and I remember seeing Mummies Alive. That was one of my favorite shows. Actual mummies that are fucking that are fucking superheroes. You know what I mean? Excuse me. Who would have thought of that? You know what I mean? But yeah. What are some of your favorite movies, dude? Growing up as a kid that
Oh,
you
because I'm a movie
remember?
now. Well, I do have a lot of movies, favorite movies growing up. And one of my favorites that has been, they have been a live action of was Aladdin. That was like one of my favorites as a kid. Because, of course, Lee Robert Williams was the genie, made me laugh. And that was what it was. The funny animation. That was one of my favorites, was Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin. Also, aside from The Lion King, was another one of my favorites growing up. I remember, too, when I first saw the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. My gosh. That's when I started, I really love the Turtles. I remember, and we are going to touch on this one, too. I remember the old school cartoon of
Yeah.
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, let's get into that real quick. Let's get into the cartoons. The cartoons, dude, were fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. Me and him both are in our 30s right now. This is the 90s we were talking about. This is the 90s when we were growing up. We got a chance to see a bunch of shit in the 90s. And I remember I remember the Turtles, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, being one of the things that I grew up on. I had the toys, I had the Turtle Van, I had Shredder. I remember having not just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys. I remember having Batman figures as well. You know, the Joker, the Two-Face, Riddler. You know, I used to have the Bat Cave. It used to be Wayne Manor, but when you opened it up, it was the Bat Cave. And it was so fucking fantastic. I don't remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
And
chairs, by the same passion I do. When I was a kid, let me tell you something, guys. I was crazy about Batman. I mean, I love the animated series. Now, the movies that came out in the 90s as well, I was just so crazy about it. I had some of the figures. I had the Batmobile. And I remember you had this little. I remember these had these tents that you can set up, and it was a Batman tent. You used to have one of those.
Oh, I'm not the only one that remembers. I'm glad I'm not the only one that remembers that. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was like a big round tent that I remember. And anyway, I was crazy about Batman and stuff like that when I was a kid. Anyway, but my God, Batman was also one of the greats as well.
One of my
My childhood.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about Batman was the animated series.
Oh, I love that.
I remember that like it was yesterday. I love Batman and the animated series. They kind of gotten as far as I'm concerned, DC animation got better with age.
It did.
And quite recently, back in February, we did all the Batman movies. Well, not all the Batman movies. Some of them. For Dark Knight Week.
Yeah, we did.
And if you go back and see our review for Mask of the Phantasm, you know how great that movie is. Mask of the Phantasm was my introduction into the world of animation for DC, for DC Entertainment. And that's what started my love for Batman. I saw the animated series as a kid. I saw the first Batman, the 1989 Batman. Well, is it 89 or 88? I'm not sure.
I think it's 89, I think.
Yeah, I think it's 89.
Yeah.
I remember going to the theater and watching Batman Returns as a kid and seeing that movie. I remember watching Batman Forever, even though Batman Forever was kind of campy in a way. I remember the toys. I remember everything about that. Not to mention, I had no idea how deep the comics were until I got into my old age. You know what I mean? Until I started actually reading the comics. But yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, and they're still doing it. DC Animation is still doing some good shit.
Yeah.
Coming up very soon, Batman Hush is gonna be made into a DC animated movie. Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the biggest crossover you have ever seen in your fucking life, is coming up.
And just two of our favorites crossing paths. What would that be like? Everyone wondered how would you would sit there if you're kind of Turtles and Batman, like being Grimreaper. You sit there thinking, what would happen if Batman and Ninja Turtles? How would that be? Well, now we get to see how will that be. You know?
And that's interesting. It's so fucking interesting. Excuse me. To know that that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And not to mention Batman Hush coming soon too. They I remember. What do you remember about the old school, like the old school Black, like like the Tex Avery cartoons and stuff like that?
Definitely. Of course, Tex Avery. Of course, I love the Snoopy cartoons with the wolf and going crazy with that girl watching her perform. That was one of my favorites. And then, of course, it was Bugs Bunny show. I was a big Bugs Bunny. My favorite Looney Tune of all time was Bugs Bunny. But that was some of the best blocks there. I remember that. And excuse me, guys.
Yeah.
And since I was a kid, I have been a fan of Looney Tunes, and I just love every minute of it. Fogger Leghorn, to Daffy Duck, Pepper the Pew, every one of them.
Yeah.
Another cartoon that I grew to love was also Tom and Jerry. even made a series called Tom and Jerry Kids. That was another thing that
Oh,
I
yeah, I
loved
remember that show.
Yes.
It was big. So, if you guys don't know what Tom and Jerry Kids were, Tom and Jerry Kids was basically Tom and Jerry as kids.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? How simple can you get with that? I remember the Scooby Doo movies. I remember 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. I remember what was that one? Those couple of other ones, a couple of other ones that they did for Scooby Doo. I think a pup named Scooby Doo
That was a cartoon.
was one of them. Yeah.
They were kids. It was all when I was kids. Yeah, I remember Scooby Doo movies like you were saying. And one of them, of course, came on today. As a matter of fact, the movie Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers. That was another one that I liked.
Yeah. I remember those movies back when I was a kid. Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers has to be one of my favorite Scooby Doo ones. I remember, let's see, going back to Looney Tunes. That was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. The Looney Tunes. When I was growing up, the Looney Tunes were my introduction into animation. You know what I mean? And it was basically hilarious how they, Bugs, Daffy, Tweety, Sylvester, these funny ass Looney Tunes. And one of my favorite movies from the Looney Tunes has to be Space Jam. You know what I mean? I don't give a damn what any of you some bitches say. Space Jam was fucking hilarious. It was fucking funny. I used to laugh my ass off every fucking time I watched that movie. I can't believe though that it took them this goddamn long to make a sequel to the motherfucker.
Yeah,
but okay.
Part two. But yeah, I remember Space Jam was that was my jam, if you will. Too, and I love that. I mean, and there's so much that Grim and I love as kids. And of course, one of the things I remember about being a kid, and it was also Disney. Now, Disney had a lot of great shows. I mean, one of them I say that I loved was Future. There was also Bonkers, and
yeah, Bonkers was one of my favorite shows.
DuckTales was another one.
Marsupilami,
That one. All those, as a kid, I love those, and Disney also played another role into our childhood, with those shows. So, you can't count out Disney as well. So.
You can't count out Disney at all. One of my favorite shows actually was from Disney, and I'm hoping that they make a live action version of it. I would love to see a live action version of this. For those of you who do not know, Gargoyles was one of the greatest fucking shows to ever come out to ever come on Disney. I love Gargoyles. It was fucking good. Everything that Gargoyles was the show had good storylines and everything. I love that show, and I hope that Jordan Peele, please make this movie. Please make this into a movie. That's what I had heard, that Jordan Peele was gonna be was thinking about attaching himself as director for the live action Gargoyles.
That would be great.
I hope so.
You never know, guys. You never know what the world's going to spit out. You'd be surprised how, we've been surprised with what's coming out and such, so you never know. But, aside from that, and of course, also when I remember as a kid, and how I got into the series of this movie, whether I remember going to the theater for the first time, and I saw the very first Toy Story.
Yeah, Toy Story.
And oh my gosh, I remember I had the Woody doll and I had the Buzz doll.
Yeah.
That was Toy Story. The first one had to be one of my favorites. And when I was a kid, so yeah, I remember that.
If you've ever seen a grown man cry before, watch Toy Story 2 and 3. I'm sorry, but those two movies were so fucking sad, man. Like the She Loves Me part, in Toy Story 2 fucking broke my heart, dude. It fucking broke my heart. And then the final scene, and then the final part in Toy Story 3 when they were about to get burned alive. Yeah, that broke me. But
well, as you know now, they're doing a fourth film, and I'm interested to see what happens this time with Woody and his friends. But yeah, I remember growing up on the first Toy Story film. It was one of my favorites there.
One of my favorites was the classic Disney stuff that they did with Donald Duck, with Donald Duck and Goofy and Mickey Mouse and stuff like that, and then there was Fantasia. Do you remember this? Fantasia was one of my favorite Disney classics that I've ever seen in my entire life as a kid. I remember as a kid used to dream that I wanted to be a conductor for a orchestra because of the way they used to do Fantasia. My God, have mercy. I love Fantasia. I just can't, But anyway, the second one was okay. The second Fantasia was okay. But the first one was really, really good. I love Fantasia.
I did too.
I remember some movies. Let's get into some movies, some classic movies.
Sure.
Like the shirt I'm wearing right now, Back to the Future. The trilogy was one of the greatest trilogies you've ever seen in your fucking life. I don't care what no one says. I don't care what anybody says. Back to the Future, man. I feel like I'm going back to being able to get into that DeLorean, the DeLorean that I have on my shirt right here, and being able to go back in time to whenever you want to go to. Like I always dreamed, if time travel was real, holy shit. I would love to go back and kill Hitler or, but
basically change history.
yeah, basically change history and stuff like that. But I love. What do you remember about Back to the Future, man?
Who wouldn't want to get a car like that to go back in time? That was one of the things, and for those you may not know, my older brother will love Back to the Future, and he was the one that showed me the movies, the films, and stuff. And so, I mean, Christopher Lloyd, Doc, and Michael J. Fox, as Marty McFly,
and we're gonna get into more. Yeah, we're gonna get into more of those movies later on down the line for back in time.
So Back to the Future was great, and I'll never forget those. I watched many of them I wanted to, and then of course, on top of the movies, then maybe we'll do these as Christmas films or a Christmas December sometime. But one of the movies that I remember watching as a kid that I loved so much was the first Home Alone.
The Home Alone movies, yeah. The first one and the second one. And then maybe the third one. What did you think? Did you ever watch the third one?
I did. It was funny. Don't get me wrong. There was some funny parts. It made me laugh, but it just was, I think to me, you can't have Home Alone on the course, but I'm just saying. You can't be,
Yeah, the third one changed when they
cast another guy.
They cast another kid,
And,
When Macaulay Culkin grew up, I guess.
I guess that, or he couldn't, maybe they couldn't reach an agreement on that. But yeah, the first one I love, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, getting all, messed up, the traps that Kevin says in the house,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then part two in New York City. And that one I remember watching because when my nephew Thomas lived with us, he showed me that one. And anyway, but Home Alone, we'll touch on those maybe on like a Christmas movie type thing we can do in December. We'll touch more on that.
Yeah, because because as I told y'all before, I got Christmas Chaos coming up, which it will be 25 days of me and Knight talking about Christmas movies. And you cannot talk about a Christmas movie if you can't talk about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That shit was fucking hilarious. And
Oh my god.
yeah, that movie was hilarious. I love that. I think the vacation movies kind of sort of lost their what's the word am I looking for? Their luster in a way. Especially when they're trying to remake Vacation like a few years back.
Yeah.
But I love Vegas Vacation. I thought that shit was funny. European Vacation. I love those movies.
Those Chevy Chase, everything. Those movies were pretty hilarious. And of course, the movie that I got into kind of late in the 90s that I grew up to love, and I'll never stop watching it. But my favorite funny movie, aside that he did a real funny job in Wayne's World, was Mike Myers and Austin Powers. Austin Powers, the first film. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Soon we need to talk about those movies.
We will.
Because I love the Austin Powers movies too. Austin Powers and the Spy Who Shagged Me. The Austin Powers Gold Member. Those were fucking hilarious movies. I kind of wish though that they could have done it, that Mike Myers could do another one. I kind of wish that he can do one more, at least one more.
One more Austin Powers.
Give.
One more Powers and maybe one more Wayne's World. Maybe that's it.
I heard that they were gonna do another Wayne's World, but I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I know they're gonna do another Bill and Ted. Now those movies were hilarious.
Oh yeah. Keanu Reeves, dude. Oh.
Yeah. There was a Macaulay Culkin. I remember another movie that Macaulay Culkin was in called The Page Master.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
I loved it.
Which I don't see the reason why people got mad. I don't see the reason why critics got mad that movie.
I liked it.
I fucking liked it too. Like, especially when they got into the horror bit and stuff like that.
It starts out live action, like he's human, like you normally would see him, and then early in the film they turn to animation. And,
yeah.
I'm a cartoon, and there's so many old movies him and I know back in the day. I became a fan of Jim Carrey with the movie The Mask. That's how I got to become a fan of Jim Carrey because of that movie.
Oh, I watched that last night, by the way.
There you go. Also, I became a fan of the Friday movies with Ice Cube, Chris Tucker.
Yeah,
and then, of course, Chris Tucker also. He's also in the Rush Hour with Jackie Chan. And I liked how that you compare an action star and a comedy guy together in the Rush Hour series, so I thought I'm a fan of that. And of course, Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator series. That's another one that I grew up on as well. Just so many out there that him and I can relate to so much in the 90s. We were 90s guys. you know, and if you guys have not seen any of these films or what any of these shows, we recommend you guys going online somewhere, looking them up and watching them yourselves. You know, if you haven't grown up in the 90s, that's what him and I grew up on with. As kids, it was much, you know, cartoons were so much, it was so much simpler back then when we were kids. Versus now. But look at now, you have like SpongeBob, you have like all these weird other cartoons.
Yeah.
But him and I had it so much easier back then. We would come to us when we were kids in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there was a lot of stuff that I grew up with back then. I remember when things were so simple. Like, especially video games. We've had a conversation about this, man, before, where we have talked about video games before. We have talked about video games and how we feel about the discs now. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of losing my voice.
But see, back then, we would just blow on the game machine, turn it on, put it in the machine, like Super Nintendo, you blow into it, put it in there, pop it on. It was that simple. Then 64. That was one of the first games I ever played, 64, when I was a kid. But anyway, so that's how, and then him the original Xbox, the first Xbox, the one before 360, it was just simple. Put the disc in there, and the game starts up. But now here on the ones and full PS4s, you have to put it in the disc, install it, in order to play, you have to get all these kind of, you know, and you have to have like much like room on your machine, you know, depending on how much gigabyte it has and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just so simple. I grew up on the Super Nintendo. I grew up on the first PlayStation, the gray one. Oh my God, I have so many memories.
Sega Genesis.
The old 64. And I remember I had tons of the old school wrestling games. I had WWE Nitro. I had WWF Warzone added to WrestleMania arcade game in your house. I mean, my gosh. It was so simple back then. Just putting in the disc, closing the lid, turning it on, and now you have to have installed it. You know, all this kind of stuff now. It was so simple back then.
Yeah, it was so simple. You put it in the cartridge, like, I remember Sonic the Hedgehog. I remember Super Mario. I remember fucking Final Fantasy. Like, you know, I remember Doom, the original Doom. You know what I mean? Like, from back then.
Mortal Kombat.
Duke Nukem, stuff like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But yeah, things changed. Things ended up changing around maybe about what, 2003 or 2004, when the Xbox showed up. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I fell in love with the original Xbox. I want to say that my mom, I remember the first two games she ever bought me for when the original Xbox came out was the first Legends of Wrestling. And then part 2 came out, but anyway, that was one of the first games I got was the first Legends of Wrestling. And then I remember the next day she came home with the machine itself so I could play it, and it was so cool. And I remember playing a lot of games on the Xbox, and I remember Backyard Wrestling was my favorite on there. You know, Raw, WWF Raw, and Raw 2. So many old games, and of course, my brother's favorite Evil Dead game came out. I love the Evil Dead games as well.
Yeah.
And just so many things like him and I grew up on, man, guys. And so, if you have any favorites, if you remember the 90s, if you happen to remember the 90s, put it in the comments saying, hey guys, I also remember this or that. What was your favorite stuff in the 90s? Let us know in the comments and share with this video on if you were a 90s guy like us, what was your thoughts? What did you like when you were growing up in the 90s as well?
Yeah, let us know in the comment section and stuff like that. Like, what exactly did y'all like as kids and stuff like that? And I know this video is running long, and I apologize, guys.
We can talk for hours.
Sorry. But yeah, I know this video is kind of running long and stuff like that. But yeah, I just wanted to go back. I wanted to go back in time and just talk about different stuff from when we were growing up. You know what I mean? Like, there was stuff that I remember as there's a lot more shit that that I remember as a kid growing up. And one of the things I remember growing up was seeing my first horror movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One of the first horror movies that I ever saw as a kid was Hellraiser.
Ah, wow.
And I remember seeing that movie and I remember like being like, what the fuck is this shit? You know what I mean? Like, and, but what was your first horror movie, dude, when you saw,
Well, how I
when
got
you were
into
growing up?
horror really was, boy, my first horror, my first scary movie ever to see before I thought it was really funny was Evil Dead was my first
Yeah.
actual view into the horror scape. My older brother loves Evil Dead. We're fans of Bruce Campbell, who played Ash in the film. So, anyways, that was kind of my first listen to the horror. And then I remember in the beginning, I wasn't really into horror because I was scared a lot as a kid. But then
Yeah.
here and now, in my 30s, like, and it's not so bad. All it is just effect. They use food coloring to make it look like blood. If you watch kind of the thing, I know how it is. So then I became a fan of the, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, all those kinds of horrors. And of course, the film series that him and that Grim knows about, I'm sure you may know out there, was Creep Show. But of course, the first one, there's one of them that him and I don't like that involves, I don't want to get into that right now.
Yeah. If you guys want to know more about that, I have a review on Creep Show that me and him did back in October, during Rip for the Silver Screen, and
Yeah, and then of course Texas Chainsaw Massacre as well. I got into really horror myself, and also Grim kind of helped. Also, Grim kind of got me into a lot of horror stuff too. So and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I got him. Yeah, I got him into like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, and like the one movie I would have to say besides Hellraiser that I got into was Leprechaun.
yeah.
That little green bastard used to scare the piss out of me when I was a kid. And,
Talk about being little and scary. Another one that kind of creeped me out that I got used to also was Child's Play. Chucky, yeah, that good guy doll. Oh my gosh.
I can't believe that Martin. Oh my god! I can't believe Mark Hamill's playing fucking Chucky in the new one. Holy shit!
When that comes out, me and Grim are going to get together on that and go see the new Child's Play and maybe give a review on that coming up. But my god, I can't believe that. Because fans, if you remember the old school Child's Play was Brad Dourif, who was the original voice of Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
And so Child's Play was another series that I got into as well. So yeah, because there's just a lot that him and I grew up on, and there's so much more. And but again, let us know what you guys thought out there. If you grew up in the 90s like we did, what was your favorite thing? Let us know in the comments. And again, we apologize for this video being long. We can talk for hours and hours about favorite things, stuff, but we'll talk more about it. Maybe we'll do another a part 2 to this. Coming soon to the channel, so stay tuned to YouTube out there. And again, we want to thank y'all for watching and taking the time to listen to us talk about and reminisce about him and I, stroll down memory lane in the 90s.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah. Besides that, there was a lot more stuff that I remember as a kid, growing up. But yeah, this whole video was basically just us just shooting the breeze. You know what I mean? Like, and I just basically wanted to do this video, because I felt nostalgic. I felt last night actually I watched an episode of SWAT Cats. And I was thinking about how fucking awesome it was as a kid growing up. Remembering this show, remembering how this show used to be. And I remember used to sitting down every Saturday morning and fucking watching these shows that we talk about, watching these movies, and just feeling and just just being a kid. You know what I mean? Just being I'm 30 something years old now. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm talking about like being 8 years old, being fucking 9 years old. Just
That was the Saturday morning for me. Just wake up in the morning with a bowl of cereal, sit in front of the TV, click, watching cartoons, and eat my bowl of cereal. Even it's not just on Saturday mornings, but also before I had to go to school, which was the touchy part. But just so that was when it was a kid, when we were kids, it was just, things were easy. It was fun being a kid. You were young, stuff you had ahead of you, Yeah.
There's one other thing I wanted to talk about before
Sure.
we
Okay, go ahead.
video memories, video store memories.
Oh.
I had a lot of memories growing up. I miss Blockbuster. I miss Hollywood Video. I miss, the old mom and pop store. But do you remember back when we were kids, man? I don't know who did it. I think it was either McDonald's or Burger King or something like that. They used to sell whenever you get how can I put it? Whenever you got a like a burger or something like that, or like a meal or like a Happy Meal, it would come with a movie.
Yes, I remember that.
And I remember it used to come with like a kid movie. And I remember getting an American Tail, Five Goes West, one of my all time favorite fucking movies. I remember getting I remember getting some movie called Mac and Me. Most of you probably know what this movie is. It was basically Mac and Me is basically this movie. I don't. He hasn't heard of it before because, um, it was basically about alien and stuff like that coming to Earth. It was like a kids movie. It was an old school kids movie, but um, I'll probably do a review on it later on down the line. But
Yeah, Blockbuster. I remember we renting videos like sometimes on Friday night after the weekend. My mom would get tapes after for work. We go get rent the tapes. Of course, talking the wrestling, of course, but I remember that. The McDonald's, one of the things I remember McDonald's back then, too. Oh my God! And of course, when we were talking about the Batman thing, this is what I wanted to talk about real quick. At McDonald's, I remember they had these collectible glasses you can get.
oh yeah, when they were doing Batman and Robin, I remember that shit like it was fucking yesterday. Those collector Batman mugs,
Yeah.
the glass
I used to have
ones.
one. I don't know what happened when I guess it broke. I don't remember. But this one had, we had a cup with toothpaste on it. Mm-hmm. And the handle of the cup was his coin.
Yeah, that was badass. I had one. I had one of that. I think it was uh I think it was Batman I had.
Yeah.
Because I know there was Batman, I know there was the Riddler, I know there was Robin. I think this was the time they were doing Batman Forever, if I remember correctly.
I think that was probably what it was from. But I remember that. I remember like in the Happy Meals, man. I mean, you get cool stuff. But yeah, this is so many memories with me and the kids, and a lot has changed over the years now that we're grown up, and a lot of those places don't exist anymore. Because now, Redbox came along, Netflix came along.
Yeah.
We VHS to DVDs, now we have Blu-rays now we have Ultra 4K, high definition. We have all this new technology now. But I miss being a kid, and I miss the 90s.
I remember, yeah, I miss VHS. I miss the art of going to a I At 30 years old, at 30 something years old, I miss going to a Hollywood Video or a mom and pop store or something like that and getting a movie.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I remember renting. I always wanted to know how I've always wanted to know like what the side looked like. You know that curtain that said adults only on the front of it.
Of course, in the back of
And
the video store, you wanted to know what was in there.
yeah, I did. Yeah, you fucking right. I
Well,
wanted to.
you're a kid. Your curiosity gets the best of you when you're a kid. I was like that too.
And I was like, I kept thinking about it, and I saw this thing today. Nostalgia critic, of course, you know Doug Walker.
Right?
Him and a couple friends of his were talking about the video store. They were talking about video stores and their memories of it, and like going to the store and buying, you know, being able to buy movies that they like and stuff like that. And that's what
Yeah.
kind of and I kind of got nostalgic thinking about it. I'm like, oh my god, I remember all of that as a kid. I remember all of that. I remember my mom used to be so mad at me because I was taking so fucking long looking for something. It sucks so bad too. You remember that? You remember that?
No, I go through that too. I remember my mom too. She was like, "Hurry up! Don't take too long." Like, well, I want to look at all the stuff they have, you know.
Yeah, and then you can't think the problem with me is this. Whenever I used to go to the video store and stuff like that, yes, I used to take too long because you can't decide like what movie you want to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you have that same problem, dude,
I
when
did.
you
I
were a
couldn't
kid?
decide what I wanted. I couldn't decide what I. And not just video stores too. It was also like when I would buy I collected the old school, you know, WWE action figures. I couldn't decide what I wanted to get. You know, that's the problem I had. And we're gonna talk about, you know, collectibles too. Don't worry about that. I mean, as a kid, we had a lot of collectible stuff. The Batman figures, of course, the wrestling figures, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I had that same issue myself. You know, that deciding if I'm in a hurry, you know, I hate that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I hated that. I hated that as a kid, especially Blockbuster. They didn't have a whole lot of how can I put it? Blockbuster didn't have a whole lot of selections.
Yeah, they did.
It was either
Yeah,
it was either getting what movies that were coming out that week,
yeah,
and not a lot of times my mom wasn't able to get movies. You know what I mean? We get them very seldomly,
yeah,
if that means anything.
yeah,
But
yeah. Not all the time.
yeah, but yeah, I remember that. I remember that like it was yesterday. I remember collect and oh my god, I remember. See, this is the thing too. We talk about nostalgic shit. You want to talk about
Uh-huh.
nostalgic shit? Watching Monday Night Raw, watching Raw's War, watching SmackDown every Thursday.
Yes,
That's
yes,
nostalgic shit. That WWF,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
know, or watching WCW Monday Night Show every fucking Monday night, or you know, there was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff that we grew up with.
definitely, definitely. Him and I were fans of the '90s, of the whole wrestling old school. You know, I remember I watched it going in. You know, I remember how I like to look into wrestling was. I remember my brother had these old VHS tapes recorded all these old wrestling events with old school legends, and that's how I got to know about Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and of course his favorite back then. My brother's favorite legend was Bruce the Barber Beefcake, so that's how kind of I got into wrestling because of that. Then I grew up on it, and I got to like Bret Hart and Owen Hart, all the, you know, all of that.
Yeah,
So him and I became, you know, and we loved going to the shows when they came into town, and oh my gosh, one of the things I ever wanted to get, and I never did as a kid, was one day to be at Greentown and get my hard glasses, and that never happened. But that was one of my wishes that would happen. Would have been kind of cool.
Oh, I had that same wish, dude. You're not the only one, man.
Yeah.
I remember being at Sunday Night Heat, and I remember there was a lot of stuff. I remember Sunday Night Heat. I remember going to Monday Night Raw. I remember going to a SmackDown one time.
And within the guys that at Sunday Night Heat is where him and I, well, we're in the same building. We hadn't met yet, but we were actually coincidentally at the same show that night. And
yeah,
real quick,
I'll tell this story.
I was dressed as Kane, and kind of freaked him out a little bit that I was dressed as Kane.
Yeah, because because this is basically why that happened. He was sitting behind me, right? He was sitting about a few floors up, few rows in behind me, and I see this dude dressed as Kane, and I'm thinking, Kane is right there. So who the fuck is in the rafters? Because this was a WWF Sunday Night Heat. This was a Sunday Night Heat for, and if I remember correctly, I think the matchup was The Undertaker against the Godfather.
Yeah.
And it was a Sunday Night Heat where Kane was in the rafters. Everybody was looking at him. Everybody was looking at you. I remember my whole row was looking right straight at Knight, thinking, what the fuck? Kane is right fucking there. Then who the fuck is up there? And stuff like that. So, but he can tell you himself. The story. Go ahead, man.
Yeah,
tell your side.
I remember. I had the Kane costume. I had that made for me. Before my dad met my mom, he was married to another person, another wife, his first wife, who passed away. That's why I had a step family, sisters, brothers, and 4 wards. So,
yeah.
He was a good, we're good with the sewing machines. How to do all that kind of stuff. So I remember the day we sent her a request to make a costume from a Kane costume for me.
Yeah.
And then this picture what Kane's costume looked like and everything. So anyway, so I decided to wear that, and I go to Heat. I go to the wrestling event dressed as Kane, and oh my God, talk about how the way it turned out. I remember though, the lights go out and the red light boys in the arena, players looking around, and everything, and then, but the real Kane was in the rafters, but people thought I was Kane. That's the hilarious story. And like I said, that was one of the few times that him and I were in the same building, but we hadn't quite met yet. We didn't meet until junior high.
We didn't meet until like 2001.
Yeah, basically.
And but yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday, and I remember. I laugh about it now.
Of course.
I laugh about it now.
Yeah.
But back then, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, who the hell is this dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but, yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, we've had that going so long, but me and Grim here want to thank you guys for taking your time out of your schedules, guys, to sit down there and listen to pick up the Cyril down in Lane. And if you guys are people of the 90s, if you're watching who are fans of the 90s, group in the 90s, what were your favorites? Let us know in the comment section down below. And who knows, maybe one of these days we'll do a part 2. We'll continue to reminisce more. Talk about more old school movies, maybe some more video games. Maybe we can talk about what our first game machines were, and so much more. Maybe we'll do a part 2 to this. But we want to thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below. And, thanks for hanging with us. So.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for hanging with us and all that. And, let us know in the comment section down below what y'all guys think. Like, what movies did y'all grow up with? Like, what TV shows that y'all used to watch as kids? One of the ones that we never talked about was Tales from the Crypt. I love that show so much. But we'll get into that discussion. Because, yes, I will be talking about Tales from the Crypt coming up in October. for Rip from the Silver Screen.
Do that, and again, so yeah, look out for more content from him, and of course, I'm working on my channel as well, guys. I'm sorry I haven't been putting any new content, so I'll be working with that. I will have some new stuff maybe coming soon, so look out for that. I'm trying to maybe record some, me playing some drums to some songs. I'll try to get that out for you guys, and check out content from him as well. And yeah, so make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and subscribe, and yeah, and just enjoy the rest of your night. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks guys for watching. That's gonna be it for me. I am Mr. Grimreaper 512 with Dark Knight 987, and we will see you all in the afterlife. Peace out.